Okay, so I wanted to say before I get started with this video, I wanted to make it very clear to you guys that this is not a situation in which I just, randomly or blindly went on a date with somebody to use them. I didn't do this for money. I didn't meet this person for the first time. This is somebody that I actually knew. I want to make that very clear to you guys. This video is extremely long, so before you make judgments and say whatever, please actually watch the entire video. White people, I cannot stress this out enough. Despite what I just said, this is not a video for you to chime in and give your 2 cents on what you think you would have done. It's already happened. It's the past. Nobody needs to be kicked when they're already down. It's easy to say when you're not in that person's position. I'm not asking you what you would do. Same thing goes for you teenagers, 18, 19, 17 something year old people. I don't need your 2 cents. I'm telling you what happened. I'm having the courage and balls to share my own story. That's that. You don't have to agree with what I did, what I said, and how it was handled. For example, I don't know if I mentioned this in this video because I haven't even started editing yet, but I wanted to add this part at the beginning. There were mistakes that I made in which I could have cost myself my life. For example, I should have cooperated with the guy because I didn't know what he was capable of doing. This dude was willing to lock me inside of his home, take away my phone, and break my electronics. Who's to say that he wouldn't have ended my life? Nobody would have come looking for me. Nobody knew where exactly was I. And this person lived in a big house in the middle of nowhere by themselves. So that was an extremely stupid thing for me to do, to try to, get away, escape, and, play bad girl, whatever type thing. I don't know. I should have honestly cooperated more. In one sense, I know that they say when you're in a public situation for you to fight back because it's better for them to, kill you or harm you publicly than for them to do it behind closed spaces. I honestly I didn't have time to think. My natural reaction was get out of this house, do what you have to do to leave. So there are some things that I can already think back on that I regretted, but I just want to clarify, this was not my first time meeting this person. I had already met this person before. I slept with this person before. We had been talking for months. I met them on a paid dating site. This person had a career. This wasn't some random bum person. So I want to make that very clear to you guys. Also, the money that was involved was very, very minimal. It's $120. Pretty much exactly what I needed to take a Shinkansen ride, specifically there. And again, this wasn't somebody that I met on Instagram or Tinder in which they were flying me out or something, even though it felt like it. This is somebody that I already knew, already dated, had been talking to for months, had already had sex with, spent an entire day together, etc. It was a long distance, not real relationship, but kind of like talking to each other type thing. This wasn't my first time meeting this person. So I just want to tell you that this just goes to show you that no matter how well you think you know someone, you don't really know them until you're truly living with them, until you truly see how they are when they're happy, when they're angry, and when they're sad. So I just want to clarify that for you. If you're not subscribed to my Patreon account, you're not a patron, you're not going to have all of the details to it. I showed videos, pictures, and I made a very long blog post there for Patreon in which my patrons have a better understanding as to what exactly went down. The story is very long. I'm making it even longer by making this video. So let's just go ahead and get to it. I just wanted to explain myself a little bit better because I know people are going to have a lot to say about this. So, yeah. Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior, and as soon as I try to start my video, my mom calls. Okay, wait just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I answered her call. But yeah, so as you saw by this title, this is going to be a pretty crazy story time. It's probably going to get a little bit lengthy, sadly, maybe over an hour, I don't know. But yeah, before I start with this video, I want to clarify a few things, which I'm probably going to talk about later on, but I want to get it out of the way at the start because I know not everybody's going to watch the whole thing, and a lot of you guys are just being messy, not in a good way where it's like, oh, this is a good story, but messy as in you're trying to be nosy, see what's going on in my life, etc. I'm aware that there's exes of mine that are subscribed to me and or that stalk my, YouTube channel. I'm aware of people that I've dated that, think that I don't know that they're aware of my Instagram and YouTube account. I know that you're aware of it. I just pretend like I don't have one. So, yeah, I know that not so good people are watching my stuff. So I want to, I want to get this out of the way and say that regardless of what I did doesn't justify somebody harming me or the police being prejudiced against me, or, taking shots in that sense. And I also want to say that while the story does sound bad, I'm telling you exactly what happened, how it is. I don't need armchair, whatever people giving me their advice on what they would have done. It's insensitive, ignorant, and of course from the outside looking in, you can pretend like you know everything perfectly because I'm telling you what the outcome was. So it's easy for you to say when you're not in my position. And being really honest with you, this is hard to talk about because it is embarrassing, it is hurtful, and just every other bad thing that you can think of. It takes a lot to not only share stories, but to give detail like this. And again, to tell the whole story instead of just making it sound like, oh my God, these are bad people, and not saying what I personally did. Nothing that I did excuses what happened. And I think that's like another thing that people tend to get wrong when they watch my videos. I don't tell you what I did to explain I'm bad too, but rather to explain this is what happened that led this to happen. And this is why they reacted that way. But their reaction is uncalled for and has nothing to do with what I did. So, yeah. I don't like... Oh my God, my voice is like gone from my AC. I don't like giving one-sided advice. Not advice, but one-sided stories. I am the only person here talking, so I always try my best to explain what I did and why, and what they did and why, basically. So, yeah. I want to start off by saying that this person that I was involved with was not some total stranger. So for those of you that are like, oh my God, this is why I don't do online dating, this is why I don't whatever. No. I knew this person. I did not meet this person for the first time. We had already met before. We had been talking for a long time. Not very long, but for online dating, yes. We've been speaking to each other for months. We met in person before. We had sex before. Like, this was not some new guy or something. And this is why, like, this story, like, is just so scary, because you never know what... I'm sorry to, like, skip ahead, jump ahead in the story, but just saying it. You never know what somebody is capable of doing. Like, it doesn't matter how close you are, how well you've known them. Like, I've watched enough crime shows to know that. Like, you see people that are married, that are rich, that are, just everything is perfect. And your own spouse, your own child can turn on you. You can be with somebody for the entirety of their life, your life, whatever. And you think that you know these people, and you have no idea what they're capable of doing, whether it's out of anger or fear or sadness. But someone that that's close to you can literally end your life. And the craziest thing about it is that unlike total strangers, somebody that barely knows you, they know you very well. They know your schedule. They know what you like and dislike. They know how to corner you better than anybody else. So that's really scary. I think that when we think about the scary factors of online dating, we always branch off. I need to get something to drink. We always branch off in our minds, like the most craziest scenarios. Like, we think about, meeting some serial killer, and on the first date, like, he kidnaps us and, locks the doors type thing, something crazy like that. But we never think about people that we know, that we're dating, that we're with, being capable of doing something crazy like that. And I'll honestly say that being in Japan, my guard has dropped significantly, because I've also spent a lot of time doing what I did in the US, except even more so. I spent a lot of time watching, TV shows like Forensic Files and Deadly Women, and, all those type of crime shows, and even True Crime Daily or whatever, just watching shows like that. And when you do that, it indirectly feeds your mind all these scenarios of things that can happen to you. And honestly, it's made me a little bit scared to even date a foreigner. In my home country, I think about, oh my God, I was dating guys in America and they're capable of doing this. And so don't get me wrong, I'm the first one to tell you that Japanese people are not perfect, and that men here most certainly are capable of doing crazy stuff. I've read and seen several stories on the news and articles, etc. I know it exists, but I also have to keep it real, and I'll give credit where it's due. There's a lot less crazy people here than there are in the US. Why? I honestly have no idea. I mean, I have some thoughts as to why, but I'm just stating the facts. Those type of things happen a lot less likely. Does it happen? Yes. Bad and good people exist everywhere in all corners of the world, every race. There are no exclusions to that, but I also have to keep it real. There is something different about the way that people are raised and taught here that changes the way that they handle, things like that. There are some cons and some downsides that I disagree with how things are handled. But clearly, whatever is going on isn't resulting in people dying or, bad things happening to them on the level and degree that it happens in the US. So that's it. I'm going like 10 minutes into this video. I just wanted to, put that little disclaimer out there. This is not a brand new guy. I knew this person. I slept with this person before. And I'll even go a step further, you guys. The thing that makes it even scarier is you guys don't know about this publicly on YouTube, but I talked about this on Patreon. I'm going into more detail here than I did on Patreon, but they've pretty much been following me all the way through this. I actually almost got pregnant by this person before, and that's what makes this whole story 10 times scarier. This wasn't just some one night stand. This wasn't just some guy that I just met yesterday. No, you guys. This person could have potentially fathered my first child. Yeah, that's scary. And this is also a big reason why, like, I'll never advocate for the life of, like, I joke about it, like, as far as dressing goes, dressing sexy, doing whatever is, your own thing. But actually sleeping with people is a whole nother, ballpark, whole nother story, whatever. There is no such thing as 100% foolproof protection for anything. And I am a firm avid believer in the fact that you should only sleep with people that you can see yourself marrying and having children with, because anything can happen. And to explain that to you as well, to jump ahead in the story, this was not some one night stand type person. I was dating this person with the intention of getting married, and they were on the same page as me. So once again, this is showing you that even if you, dot all your I's, cross all your T's, people can still slip through the cracks. And this was by far the scariest situation that I ever had in my entire life. So let me go ahead and get to it. So I started, after like things like officially were done with me and my ex, fiance, we really broke up a while ago, like a long time ago, last year, but almost a year ago. It hasn't been a full year. We were still talking to each other and trying to work things out, and it seemed like things were getting better at first, which is why, like, I didn't publicly say on YouTube, like, oh, we're through, because we had dates and everything, like, since we had a huge falling out and, like, separated and started living, separately again. But I didn't know, and I didn't want to just throw everything away, because we've been dating for a while, and I really loved him, and vice versa. But I just started to feel like, nothing's going to change. And when I tried to, like, arrange for us to talk and meet and work things out again, he just got super, super mad and, told me, basically that I can go to hell and blah, blah, like, just, say really evil stuff to me. And so it honestly really hurt me. And I finally, like, got the hint, and I was like, okay, move on. You're just hurting yourself at this point. And so it was really hard to do. And I want to kind of backtrack again, as I always say, like, I tell you my own stories and experiences. I do not ever tell you do what I do, say what I say, live how I live type thing. But I tell you the truth as to what's going on with me. As I try to say, I said this on Patreon before, do as I say, not as I do, basically. I give some pretty good advice, not trying to pat myself on the back as far as dating and work and stuff goes, but I can also be totally honest with myself when it comes to applying these things to me. I'm not always the best at following through with stuff. Some of it is truly just a matter of bad luck, between dating bad people, working for bad employers, and then other parts of it are just a matter of, myself. I let my own personal issues get in the way of doing what I know I should do and what I'm supposed to do. So I can take full accountability, but that's the reason why I tell you, this is what you should do, and not, hey, look at me, I'm perfect, do what I'm doing type thing, but rather, I've been on the bad side of things. I can tell you how to avoid ending up like me. So I just want to clarify that I'm not God, I'm not some perfect person, and I never tried to paint this image or pretend like I am, but I know some of you guys get that from this, and for others, especially white people, you all see this as me just being, some big whiny crybaby, bitch or whatever. But this is a journal, and this video is a story time. Like, I'm telling you what happened, what goes on in my life, and I'm trying to be transparent and honest with you. There's so many people painting everything in their life as being perfect online, and especially in a place like Japan, where it's like, if you do come here and things don't go perfectly for you, you feel like you're the problem, like something's wrong with you, because everybody else's life is perfect. Why isn't yours? Nobody else had this bad experience. Why was yours bad? And I've literally had people say that to me in my comments and emails, etc. And it's like, that's exactly why I'm making this content, because you guys have been so brainwashed and manipulated into thinking that everyone's life here is perfect. So yeah, back on subject. So after I realized we were officially done, I want to say it was about May, I decided to revive my account with Paris. I actually had signed up for this account, I want to say about a year or so ago, when I first started to feel like things were done with me and my ex. And so I had signed up for it, but I don't remember what it was. Did I not have a valid visa? I don't know what it was. For some reason, I didn't have the ability or didn't care to upload, my ID to prove my identity. And I also, didn't have a high enough Japanese ability. And I was just too lazy to go ahead and fill out the profile. So I just let it go. I only got one message on there, and so I never was even able to read the message because I didn't upload a valid ID to verify my age. So fast forward, basically exactly probably a year later, a little over, I went back to my account, and I just felt really desperate at this point in time. And I just started liking people, and I uploaded my stuff, and I added, to my profile, etc. And I started getting tons of matches, tons of likes. And so, like I said, Pairs is basically the Japanese version of eHarmony. It's a serious dating site. They don't allow just anybody, to sign up and just send messages, etc. You have to pay for all of your interactions. So your likes, your messages, from male memberships. And I know it's unfair to you guys, but from a girl's perspective, it's a lifesaver, because the reality is people that just want to play around, have sex, F-boys, whatever, they generally do not want to spend a dime. Even if the membership was $1, it will get rid of 90% of F-boys just by charging something alone. And so this costs, I think it's $30 a month plus or something. So I'm sure they have trials and discounts, etc., like any other app, but the fact that it charges money gets rid of a lot of, the people that aren't so serious, and especially being in Japan where, not everybody has a credit card per se. So, and also mind you that credit cards in Japan are not the same as credit cards in the US. Credit cards in Japan are basically a pay advance where you have to pay it back as soon as you get paid. Whereas in the US, a credit card is literally free money being loaned from the bank. You pay it as you have it, basically. But in Japan, whatever money you use, it has to be paid back in full by the next month. But that's another story. We're going to talk about that in another video. So yeah, you could pretty much trust people there on average, because also unlike sites like Tinder, they require you to disclose all of your information. There's no hiding the fact that you're fat or that you're short or that you don't have a good job or your salary is low. They ask all these questions, and so you can easily rule people out based off of those things. You don't like the job they have, their height, the way that they look, etc. And you might be thinking, well, can't somebody just lie about this, whatever? Yes, that is true, but generally speaking, people here don't normally lie about those type of things. At best, like the average person, people might exaggerate their height, add a couple inches, take away a couple, lie about their weight, pretend to be smaller than they are, whatever, but it's never about anything extreme here. So that's for starts. And secondly, what was I going to say? You have people that don't fill out their profile, and in that sense, they just don't get as many matches, and you can avoid matching or liking this person because they didn't tell you about themselves. And that's what I normally do. I don't have time to be playing games with you. My profile is all the way filled out. If you're not going to tell me how tall you are, what your job is, I'm not going to waste time messaging you back and forth or meeting with you. That's that. So it's whatever. So anyway, I was talking to this guy. As I started using it more, I stopped liking people, and I just wait for them to like me. Why go through that? I'm so popular on this app, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm in the top 1% of users on the app. I have tons of likes. And with that said, I got a like from this guy, and he happens to be bilingual, which that is a huge, something that you have to have in order to date me seriously. I will never consider marrying somebody that is not, fluent, preferably native fluent in English, but at least fluent in English. Have to have a degree. You don't have to be 6 feet tall, but you do have to be at least average height here for a Japanese man, preferably. But I can even consider dating somebody that's an inch or even 2 inches under, but it's not my preference. Again, I look at it this way: I'm attractive, I'm young, I'm educated. I know that I can easily get somebody else that has these things. Why settle for less? So anyway, yeah, the guy, he seemed really nice. In his profile, he was like, oh, it's possible to get married to a foreigner, blah, blah, blah. I spent X amount of time living in Thailand. So he spoke English. He was well-traveled. He was an engineer. And his salary was good. And so his height was okay, too. He was 5'9". And he was muscular. Everything seemed great. And so I'm not gonna lie, like after we started talking a little bit, I started getting F-boy vibes from him. It started to seem like he didn't have any plans to like have an actual date, and that it was more like him trying to sleep with me after we hit like exchange line. And so he was like messaging slowly, etc., and like playing little games. So I like kept deleting our chats over and over again. Kept deleting the chat because he would like wait a day, wait till the end of the day, whatever. Like he would just take his time getting back to me. And it seems really small, petty, whatever on my end, but trust me, I know the game. I have videos on it. I didn't have a good gut feeling about him. So I was like, I'm not wasting my time with this. Just move on, talk to somebody else. And every time I do it, he would re-add me to another chat. He would apologize, make up an excuse, whatever. And so the catch was, at the time I was living in Osaka. And so he was living all the way in, not Sendai. He was living in Shizuoka. And so, yeah, like it was unrealistic. Like, I'm not going there. You're not coming here. But he was. He was actually willing to come all the way where I am to come see me. And so he had his own car. He had an SUV at that, a nice, sports utility vehicle. So, what was I going to say? After we had been talking for, I think it was about 2 months or whatever, he actually came to see me on, Saturday. He came and saw me on Saturday night. We were supposed to have gone out to eat, but we talked for a minute, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, long story short, he convinced me to go to a hotel with him, which I know is a horrible idea, but I really trust him, really liked him. We had spent like a lot of time talking beforehand. Like we were talking about marriage, talking about having kids, everything else. I honestly had a really great time with him on our little hotel date. We spent the night there, and he even let me choose the exact like hotel that we went to, and I chose a very expensive place. And I was shocked that he not only went through with it, but like he wasn't, complaining about it. He wasn't being stingy. He wasn't angry or anything like that. Because I figured, like, okay, if he's an F-boy, he's going to try to, make this as cheap as possible. He already spent, hours, 4 hours basically driving here. Then we took us a while to find a place to actually go to. And then when we got to the place, it was really expensive. Like, he dropped a couple $100s on this Love Hotel. So, it wasn't no cheap place. But, I'm also no dummy. He's getting more out of it than I am, technically. But everything rubbed me the right way. So, like, he bought some drinks. We drank a little bit. We talked a little bit. We started making out. We had sex. And, even then, like, everything was really good. Just gonna keep it real. He talked about how he wanted to have a baby with me and this, that, and the other, and how he wanted to marry me, and he was asking like my ring size and just everything else. Like he knew how to like put on the charm. And so what was I gonna say? Like even like sexually, like he wasn't how can I say it? He wasn't selfish. Like he really like made sure that he satisfied and pleased me. And again, like these are all F-boy signs when they don't do these things. Normally somebody's an F-boy, they're straight to focusing on themselves. They want you to do things for them. They don't care about your plans, your future, whatever. But he knew the game. And mind you, this person doesn't know about my Instagram, doesn't know about YouTube, because I, didn't find this person on Tinder. This is not a hookup site. The site is made for dating. He had a paid membership. So, and then, like, even the fact that he stayed in contact with me for so long, we didn't just meet, like, after talking for a day or something. He stayed in contact with me over the course of 2 months. And after he saw, like, look, like, you and your, once a day message you when I'm don't work, stuff don't work with me. He changed it. He started messaging me throughout the day. He started asking me, like, personal stuff, like, just, really seeming to care about me, seemed really nice. And so at the end of, the date, like the morning came, and I honestly wasn't expecting him to, have to leave and be in a rush. But like once it got to be like around 10 or 11 o'clock, he started trying to rush me and like wanted to leave suddenly for whatever reason. I don't know what that was all about. But he claimed that he needed to go back to Shizuoka and that he was having some dinner date with his family. And it didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't buying it. So, yeah. What was I going to say? So, he dropped me off back at home, and so it was very obvious like during the ride, and even like before then, as we were leaving the hotel, that I was pissed. So he was like, "Oh, like, Ren, like, why are you upset? Like, are you angry? Like, please don't be angry, blah blah blah." And so when he came to my place, I asked him, I wanted him to come inside and see my place. And I was like, next time, like, I'd rather, you just come here, save money, whatever. Like, we were talking about, like, cooking, everything else. I was like, I'll make dinner for you type thing. I really, like, hit it off with this guy. Like, we had really good, deep conversation. It wasn't just, based around having sex. Although I won't lie, like, we literally, like, did what we did all night. And let's just put it this way. I did something really stupid, and I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Again, telling all sides. We didn't use protection at one point. And I knew that around this time I was ovulating and that I shouldn't be doing this, but I did, and I felt comfortable enough with him based off of what we were talking about, what he had said to me, etc. Sorry, I just got an email. And yeah, it just made me, I felt safe with him, I felt comfortable with him, and I felt okay, with doing that. And I didn't regret it at the time. So yeah, like, afterwards he came aside and I like begged him, like, oh, like, please stay, or I'll go to Shizuoka with you. And so he was like, no, like, I can't, I'm gonna spend the night, at my parents' house. I haven't seen him in a long time. He started talking to his sister, blah blah blah. I don't know whether he was telling the truth or not. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. My F-boy detector went off. But because everything that he did before that seemed genuine, I wanted to believe he was being honest and that he just didn't tell me about this beforehand. But I couldn't help but think, like, why would you come and meet me knowing that you have dinner with your family the next day? And you have to go all the way back to Shizuoka, which is like a 4-hour drive. And so we had stayed together from, the previous night. And even like then, like, I took a long time to get ready. Like, he waited outside in his car for like a good 2 hours or so on me to be ready, like, after he arrived. And that was after he had already driven like 3-4 hours to get there. He wasn't angry, was understanding, didn't get mad at me or nothing. So we talked again, and we talked about, moving in together. And this is all his idea. This isn't crazy me being like, oh my God, I want to have your babies, I want to marry you tomorrow. No. Of course, I'm a girl. I'm thinking these things in my mind, but I didn't say anything to him. He was the one saying all of this stuff. He was the one talking about how he wanted to have, babies with me. He was the one talking about how he wanted to get married. He was the one, asking about my ring size. He was the one that was doing all of this stuff. He was the one that was talking about how he wanted to live together, immediately get married, immediately. All of this stuff was all him. And so again, one part of me saw it as like a little bit of a red flag, seems a little bit desperate, a little bit crazy. But the other part was like, girl, this is exactly what you want, because I'm crazy like this. So again, keeping it real. So after that, I started messaging him like normal, and then he went right back to how he was when we first started talking. He stopped replying to me. He stopped reading my messages, or he'd leave me on read and not reply back. And so I spent a while trying to talk to him, and then I eventually just apologized. And I was like, you know what? I feel really stupid. I'm done. I'm done talking to you. And so then he started picking up the F-boy game again. He started messaging me quickly, apologizing. Oh, no, it's not. It looks like blah, blah, blah. And so sure enough, time goes on, weeks go by, and he sees me post sexy pictures again. And so suddenly, when he sees me update my story online, he messages me, oh, like, hi, like, I want to see you. I miss you, blah, blah, blah. I want you to come to Shizuoka. I want you to stay with me. I want to marry you, blah, blah. It goes back to that conversation again. And so I tell him, like, I'm not falling for that crap again. I call him out for being an F-boy. I ignore him. I don't care. And so he keeps messaging me anyway, even though I delete the chat every so often, like every few days to a week, he'll send me a message again. So he wasn't like stalking me and blowing up my phone, but he was staying in contact with me. And so during this time, I'm dating other people. I don't really care. I didn't have all my eggs in one basket anyway. But I was honestly freaking out, and I never told him. But I told my, patrons, I didn't tell them the details like I'm telling you guys here. I'm telling all of you guys this right now. But I did tell them that, I was freaking out because I wasn't sure. Like, there was a possibility that I could be pregnant. My period didn't come back after that incident. And we did have unprotected sex during a time where it was possible for me to get pregnant. But I didn't want to, like, freak him out, especially if I wasn't. And I didn't know how I felt about the whole thing. I didn't even know if I wanted to keep it, to be honest. And I'm personally not for abortion, just going to keep it real with you. But I also have to be real. I don't know what I would really do if I were in a situation like that. Like, maybe I would, get one. I don't know. So, back on subject. I'm not trying to make this a political video. Like I said, I'm strongly against it, but you never know until you're in that situation, like what you would personally do. I'm 100% against it as a topic. I don't believe in it. I don't support it. Gotta keep it real. But it scared me, the thought of like having a child with somebody that doesn't want me, basically. So anyway, we started talking again, but like I had inside my mind, like, I'm not gonna see you. Like, you want to see me again? Like, just as I said the first time we first met, you can plan and, pay for a date, basically. And so he, agreed to it. But then by the time we started talking again, I had already gone to Tokyo. So technically I was closer to him here. But when I did the Google search, it's like, actually, it's the same distance. Even though Tokyo is closer to Shizuoka by, car, it's the same distance. It's still about 3.5 hours, which is the amount of time it took for him to get to me in Osaka. So his excuse was he didn't want to come here because of, the whole virus situation going on with the pandemic. And so he just so happened to have had good timing because I ended up going back to Osaka and he sent me a message again out of the blue. And I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. So this time around, because mind you, I had already called him out for being an F-boy, and like he didn't acknowledge it, but he didn't deny it either. He just sent me a message saying like, So I'm like listening out because my doorbell might ring in a moment. I'm expecting a package that was actually supposed to have come the other day, so I might have to get up and go get that. But what was I gonna say to you guys? So anyway, I'm in Osaka. And I was trying to get things worked out with my job and my visa. But, excuse me. I should really just get something to drink. So, I was trying to get something worked out. And my goal was to have gone back there, you know, hoping that my visa would be ready and I could pick it up. So I don't have to start over the application process entirely here in Tokyo. But it wasn't ready. So I ended up wasting basically $300 going back to Osaka for no reason because my visa wasn't ready, and then, you know, things didn't go out well. I'm having a lot of personal issues going on. I have an ongoing court case going on with my apartment. I'm not going to go into detail here. You want to know, go to Patreon, sign up, subscribe there. There's an ongoing court case going on there. There's also, you know, because I had been gone for so long and I hadn't been paying my bills because I was in Tokyo, my utilities got turned off that same day. And so I was like, you know what? Flip it. Like, you want to see me? If you come pick me up, sure. And so he was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I will. But then he was like, oh, but I have to go to work tomorrow. You know, I can't do it. And so I was like, okay, well, if you give me the money, you know, to pay for Shinkansen, then I'll come see you. If you can pick me up, you know, from the train station. He was like, oh, okay, deal. So he sent me the money, but just my luck. Now, this was planned the day before. I forgot to say this. This is the day before. Just my luck. You know, I spent too long talking with my lawyer. And by the time I had left her office, the bank had closed and my residence card was expired, but it's in the process of being renewed. So the way that it goes at Mizuho, hold on. Sorry, like have lipstick on my, not lipstick, but lip gloss on my mouth. On my lip. That is my mouth. Is that my package? Yes, I think so. Give me a second, guys. I think my package is here. Okay, sorry about that. I handled my business. I got my sports drink right here with me, and I also just got through eating some lunch. So yeah, let me get back to the story. So, yeah, he sent me the money through a bank transfer. Well, we talked about it last night, like the night before, because he was like, oh, okay. I told him, like, you know, you want to come see me? Like, come see me tomorrow. And so he was like, really? Tomorrow? And so I think for him, it was perfect timing to come see me. This is why he messaged me. It wasn't random now that I think about it. I had posted to my Line story that I was in Osaka. And so for him, he felt safer, more comfortable going to Osaka because he'd already met me there before versus going to Tokyo, in which, you know, the cases there, the you-know-what cases are significantly higher. So he felt comfortable going to that area, even though there are cases, you know, coming up in Shizuoka. You know, he's driving by car. Shizuoka is very country-like. It was safer for him, you know, to meet there or even Osaka. So, yeah, so I told him, you know, that if you give me the money, you know, I'll go there. And so really he wanted to reimburse me. He didn't want to give me the money. He was like, if you come here, you know, I'll pay you back for it. But I didn't trust that. I've been burned by people too much in the past. I've never had like that type of situation where a guy paid for me to go anywhere. I'm not the type of person. So, but I know, like, I've trusted people in the past to do other, you know, small things for me in which they didn't carry through, made up an excuse or whatever. So that was too risky for me. I would be packing up my stuff, going all the way there to a place I've never been, in the hopes of him actually meeting me there and keeping his word and letting me stay there. I didn't feel right about it, and I did have the money. Technically, I was going to have it later on, but I didn't have it right then at that moment. But the next day, or actually later that evening, my mom had actually messaged me saying that she was going to give me the money to get back to Tokyo because I was freaking out. I made a video for Patreon, and I also, like, you know, spoke to my mom, and I kind of briefly talked about on Patreon that I pretty much wasted my time. I came back to Osaka for no reason because my visa wasn't ready. I ended up deciding not to go through with the job that was supposed to sponsor my visa, so I went with another company. Everything just got completely thrown off. I ended up throwing more money down the drain. And so while I was making a lot of money, like, as I've shared some pictures on Instagram, etc., I've also spent just as much. I've literally been burning everything that I've been making because I have, bills and stuff to pay. I have loans. And on top of that, I was having to pay between the share house, paying for Shinkansen rides back and forth, and also, paying for that hotel in Tokyo that, Ginza Premier was a really nice hotel, 4 stars. So, yeah, I spent well over $1,000 basically. That was everything that I made. And so my mom actually gave me, I think it was like $300 or whatever that she gave me. Was it 300? Yeah, I think it was. I don't know how much she gave me. Basically, she paid for my Shinkansen ticket, which was perfect because I was like, I just got through blowing $300 that I got, through my blog that I received through PayPal. So my mom, transferring money to my bank account was, great. That really was going to help me out. So anyway, I didn't tell him about this because I wanted to obviously have that money for other purposes. And if he's going to pay for it, why have my mom do that? And plus, it wasn't going to be a full, trip, so to speak. I was still going to have to get myself from Shizuoka back to Tokyo. But I figured I'm not working right now. Wouldn't hurt to kill some time. And who knows, I might decide to be serious with him. I might change my mind and choose to go, stay in Shizuoka. Who knows? So, yeah. After I was done meeting with my lawyer, I tried to withdraw the money that he had sent me because he sent me the money during the time that I was talking to my lawyer. But just my luck, because my visa had expired at this time, I wasn't able to withdraw the money. And so I tried to call my bank, but they required me to actually go in person. And once again, just my luck, by the time I tried to withdraw the money, the bank was closed. So I sent him screenshots and proved to him that I was on the phone with him. And I was thinking to myself, this guy's going to think I'm scamming him, but I'm really not. I really just am in a weird situation right now. My visa has expired. I can't access my bank right now. And by the time they'll be open, it'll be the next day. And I forgot, was there something planned tomorrow? Oh yeah, he'd be working. So I wouldn't be able to see him until that evening. And he also works on Saturday. So this was all taking place on, This was all taking place on Thursday. So we planned to meet Wednesday night. And I was supposed to actually go, we had made the plan to meet on Wednesday. But the plan was to actually meet on Thursday. So after talking to him back and forth and him freaking out over and trying to figure out what's going on, he decided that he would drive after already giving me the $120 to pay for the Shinkansen ride from Osaka to Shizuoka. He was going to drive all the way in the middle of the night, guys. This is 7, 8 o'clock by the time we decided on this. He was going to drive all the way here to come pick me up, which was perfect. So I told him I'd give him back the money, when I was able to go to the bank again, which would be on a Monday, because, it was already Thursday that day. So the next time the bank would be open would be on Friday. And there wasn't a Shizuoka anywhere near him to my knowledge, but definitely I wouldn't have had time to go anyway. The whole situation would have just been, tricky, messy, so I would at least have to wait a day. But the problem with waiting a day is that did I have an interview or something? I had something that was coming up the next day. So for some reason, I can't remember. It wasn't going to be practical for me because my goal was to get to his place immediately, because I also wanted to make sure I was back in Tokyo in time. I wanted to be back because I had interviews and stuff at the time scheduled, for the following week. So anyway, he came and got me. He drove the almost 4 hours in the middle of the night, came to get me. And so I'm trying to quickly clean up my place because while I knew I wasn't going to stay in Osaka forever, I said came to Tokyo. I knew he was going to come to Osaka to get me. I knew I wasn't going to stay there forever, but I wasn't prepared to leave that evening because I was thinking I was going to stay there for at least a week. And so I didn't have my stuff put together. And then even when I was planning to meet him, I thought that he was, how can I say, I didn't plan to stay with him for so long. I was only planning to stay there for maybe a day or two, whatever. But then I was like, why not just go straight from his house straight to Tokyo? And even better, now since he's going to actually drive here to come get me, which is even better, and it's what I initially wanted, I can take way more stuff with me back to Tokyo than normally. Because he has an entire sports utility vehicle. He has an SUV. I don't have to worry about the cost of shipping, etc. It's the same cost to drive with just me as it would be me and 12 bags, etc. So I still tried to be, humble, modest. And so I only bought, a couple of extra bags with me. But I packed them to the brim because, again, I knew I wasn't going to have to lug them around. I had the help of, now a strong, muscular man. And, of course, also, I'm dating this guy, I'm talking to him, and I would be significantly closer to Tokyo. I don't have to worry about, taking the bags on the train and trying to carry everything by myself. So anyway, when he got there, things got really, really weird. So he told me that he was nearby, and I started bringing my stuff down because he was really trying to hint to me to make sure that I was ready to go, because last time he waited on me for almost 3 hours. And I don't blame him. I would have been really angry, but he wasn't angry at me that time. He showed no signs of even having the ability to get angry. And so this is all gonna matter later. So when he came to actually get me, and I saw his car outside in the front. I remember his car. He swore that was not him. And so I kind of freaked out because I was busy moving my suitcase and stuff out into the hallway area, so that as soon as he gets there I can easily pack up his car and go, because I understood he has to get up to go to work in the morning at 8. He has to wake up at 7. He's going to be tired, and he wasn't going to be getting to my place till midnight, so he has to do a 4-hour drive back to Shizuoka. So he literally was going to sacrifice his sleep to come and get me. So I'm not gonna lie, I was looking forward to it. I felt like I was this dude's wife. I've never, I dated a guy that had a house, but he was living with his parents, so it wasn't really his house. I never dated somebody that had their own house, lived alone. He was cute to me. He's muscular. He was literally just perfect. He seemed really nice. But again, in my heart, I experienced a little bit of fuckboy-ish type tendencies from him. So just to be safe, I set my guard up because I didn't know. And normally when I do think something, I'm right. But like I said, it was kind of hard to tell because he switched back and forth. Sometimes at one moment he would seem super, super nice and caring. The other moment it was very clear that he was an F-boy. But I was starting to think maybe it's all in my mind. Maybe I'm just, afraid. Maybe it's just me with my OCD. Because I have OCD beyond just the cleaning part. I obsess over relationships too. And I was starting to feel like maybe I'm just trying to paint this picture of him being this cheater, this bad guy, this F-boy, when really he's just an adult that has more to his life than checking his phone every 2 seconds like how I do. So anyway, he came and got me, and we had a pretty quiet road trip there. We just talked a little bit, but before we actually took off, this is the part that made me upset. I messaged him saying oh, is that your car? Are you here? And he swore he wasn't there. He gave me some location that showed that he was 10 to 15 minutes away. But I was thinking okay, it's midnight. What is the likelihood of a van that looks exactly like yours parked exactly in front of my building? So I go back up into my room and I wait because he said he wasn't there. And so then a little while later, like I said, he sends me the location, claiming that he's, this location is 10-15 minutes away, and says he needs some time. I could have swore that was him. And because I thought it was him, I even took 2 pictures of this vehicle. And so if I do things the way I'm planning to, it's probably the thumbnail of this video. So I had my bags waiting by the door, as you saw, and that was his, van out in the front. So then when he tells me that he's there and I go outside, I don't see anyone, which I thought was kind of odd. And then I look to the left and I'm like, that's literally the exact same van I saw in front of my, apartment building, just moved up to the left so that it's not in view of the doors. And for some strange reason, his trunk was open and he had a whole pallet in his back seat. And so he claims that the reason for that was, because sometimes he goes out drinking and he can't drive, so he has, the ability to sleep inside of his car. But the dude had curtains, pillows, everything. It was like a camping vehicle, and to my knowledge, he doesn't go camping. So for a guy, his car was really clean, and he had this Mickey Mouse thing going on. He really, really liked Mickey Mouse for some reason. His whole house and car was decorated with Mickey Mouse themed stuff, which was kind of weird. I talked about that on Patreon in more detail. I'm not going to go into it here. But anyway, he gladly took all my bags for me. He didn't have me carry anything. But I expressed that I was, kind of concerned. Why did you lie? I could have sworn that was your car right there. And so he kind of deflected it and got fake mad and was don't call me a liar, don't whatever, I'm being honest with you, please believe me type thing. So he pretended like he was a little bit upset. And so I just got to the point, I was like, dude, we're wasting time at this point. You need to get home. We're going back and forth. We've been talking for 5-10 minutes. Let's just put the stuff inside the car and let's go. So I was falling asleep a little bit, we were talking, holding hands while driving. Everything was totally fine. But this time around, he didn't talk about getting married, anything else. And again, I couldn't help but think to myself, why was this, trunk open? Why was the stuff in his back seat? And then it was kind of it doesn't smell like weed, but it was some type of I don't know, electronic cigarette. There was some type of weird smell, like he had been smoking something. I don't know what that was. But again, like just adding into the, the weird things, my gut feeling, intuition. Every time I try to start recording, somebody calls me. I don't even know who this number is. Okay, so yeah, I'm basically just gonna ignore that. So anyway, what was I saying to you guys? So, my brain can't function. Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, yeah. So when we got to this place, of course, we were both tired. I immediately went to go take a shower, kind of slightly unpacked a little bit, just like plugging up my electronics and whatnot. And, he wanted me to immediately, meet him in bed, if you know what I mean. But I'm like, no, like, I want to shower, because I hadn't been able to take a shower for a day because my water and stuff was turned off the night before. And so it had been, was it 24 hours? Yeah, it basically been a little bit over 24 hours since I was able to take a shower or, do anything like that properly. So I wanted to clean myself, just keeping it real. And so I always take a shower for a long time, especially if I'm going to be having sex. And he wasn't my boyfriend, but with the guy that I was talking to. And so mind you, this isn't a new guy. I already dated him before. We'd slept together before. So we had been talking for like 3 months at this point. Like this wasn't some brand new dude. So, anyway, yeah, we go to bed together and we did our things and then went back to sleep. And then even like the following morning, he gave me a house key. We did things again before he left. He jumped up, went to work, and he expressed concern about, me, like, oh, what are you going to do for lunch? So he told me there's a convenience store nearby. I did my own search on it, and it kind of made me a little bit upset because I asked him what his address was, his exact address, and the reason being is that, he drove here, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And so let me backtrack a little bit. He didn't tell me exactly where he was living at. So he told me he was living in Hamamatsu, but really it was outside of Hamamatsu. It was in Fukuroi or whatever. Fukuroi was the name of the city that he was living in. And I shouldn't be telling all this, but I wanted to, share more information about the story. So it didn't really matter to me, but the place was literally in the middle of nowhere. There were no sidewalks. There were a lot of areas that had no, crosswalk lights, etc. But it's Japan, so it's really easy to get around cross streets, etc. Drivers are really kind. They'll wait for you. But, anyway, back on subject. So, yeah. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I was thinking like you knew I was going to be coming over a day before, and even like this night or in the morning, I would, if I were in your position, I would buy some food, some stuff that my guests can have to eat. I'm not just any guest. I mean, I'm literally staying with you for a week. And so all of these things, like, I'm not gonna lie, made me feel really conflicted because one part of me felt trusting towards him because he was gonna let me stay with him for a week. So clearly this dude isn't married, doesn't have a girlfriend, wife, whatever. But at the same time, it seemed like just little things. It seemed like he didn't really care about me. Like, that was something really small. You don't have to buy something super expensive, but just something, even if it was just ramen, just something that you have at your house for me to have to eat, drink, whatever. Because to his knowledge, he knew that my money was on hold inside of my bank account, and I wasn't rich or anything, and he didn't know about my real situation. But to his understanding, I had no access to my money inside my account. So he did, ask for that money back, and he did, ask me when I'd be able to give it back to him. And he brought it up a couple of times, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, dude, it's just $120. It's not that much money. So, mind you, this dude, he's like a mechanic or something. He was an engineer of some sort. And so he was making good money for where he was living at. So his salary was somewhere between like $60,000 to $80,000. I don't know his exact amount. I might have asked him if I recall. All I know is that it was over $60,000 a year is what he was making. So, which in Japan, that's considered technically good, especially for the area that he's in. But realistically, like if you have a family, etc., $60,000 is crap, especially if you have children and or if you live in Tokyo. Why is everybody blowing up my phone right now? But, yeah. So anyway, it's actually a message from Paris. But, okay, so he goes off to work, and I go on my own little adventure, go to the convenience store by myself, and I come back and actually recorded a video for Patreon. So I went all around the student's house, and I was just kind of like talking about, he seems nice, but I don't know, I just have like a weird gut feeling about him, which it all makes sense now. And so I noticed when I was looking around his house, he had a lot of pink stuff for some reason. Like there was a lot of stuff that it was clear that either, there was a girl living here or there's a girl that is living here. And so I chalked it up to like, okay, maybe he had an ex and throw away her stuff, or I don't know, like maybe this is the only color that was available, so he bought it. Because some Japanese people don't care. It's really weird here, but you'll see guys here that have like pink jackets, pink phones, etc. And it's not because they're like trying to be gender neutral or because they're gay or anything else. They just don't associate color with gender as much as we do. They do associate it with it, but not on the level that we do as Americans, where a guy would never buy something pink. For example, I've met several dudes that had a rose gold pink phone from Apple iPhone, and I think they kind of like felt like, okay, like, sorry, there's a motorcycle outside, or a truck. They kind of feel like, why does it matter? Or almost like even kind of embarrassed about it. But for them, it's like whatever's available, they just buy it if that's the only color available. They don't make a big deal about it. So, yeah, I kind of got nosy, snooped around his place, and I didn't open up any closets or any doors, so I did respect that part. Anything that was visibly out in the open, I did kind of, look at it a little bit. So, yeah, it was fun staying there. He was pretty clean for a Japanese guy, because a lot of the guys here are pretty dirty, but his place wasn't as clean as it could have been, but it was clean enough, and I was actually shocked that he uses mouthwash. So yeah, he kind of feels like a little bit of a pretty boy and a little bit dated, but he changed his hairstyle this time around. He got a haircut. When I met him previously, he had like an early 2000s host guy like haircut. So yeah, so he drove his car to work, so I was at home by myself, but I knew he'd be home sometime between 5 to 7 if he were to stay late. So I was feeling really lazy, really drowsy, tired, whatever. So I just ended up sleeping, taking a nap after I was done eating, and recorded my journals for Patreon. And when he came back home, I was asleep. And so when I did wake up, he was inside of one of his rooms, because this is a whole house. He had a room that like just had like his video games and stuff inside of, but he really had games in every room. But specifically, this was like his gaming room, I guess. So he was playing online with his friend, and without me even having to ask, shortly after I came in there, he had it on speaker so I could hear the conversation. So he wasn't hiding nothing. I could hear he was talking to a guy. He got off of his game, and he was asking me what I wanted to eat. And so he was thinking about going to the grocery store or like going to KFC and getting some fast food, whatever, which didn't really rub me the right way. I'm like, this is the first night that I'm here with you, first full night, full day, because I came the night before and that was Friday night. I would think that, you would try to do something nice, go out to dinner together, but nope. But I forgot to say this part. He was making plans for us. He asked me what I wanted to do when we were driving, what I wanted to do on Sunday, because off days were going to be Sunday and Monday. So I told him that I had nothing in mind, so to do some sightseeing and that he could choose what we do. And so he said that sightseeing is fine and that he wanted to go to the mall with me too. And his birthday was going to be next week on Wednesday. So I'd be spending his birthday with him. That was the plan. So we ended up getting ready. We were going to the mall, and this is something that rubbed me the right way, just like when we first got there. I forgot to mention that part. When we first arrived to his place, he actually dropped me off at the door and parked his car so I wouldn't have to walk. And it wasn't even a long walk, but it was just little things like that I appreciated. He did the same thing when we went to the grocery store. It was pouring rain, and so he pulled his car up to the front of the house so that I wouldn't have to walk in the rain. He refused to use an umbrella and refused to walk with me with my umbrella because he's a guy. But anyway, we went to the grocery store, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. Like, I felt like he did tell me that he was going to run ahead because he didn't want to get wet, but I felt like as a gentleman, as a guy, he should have been either willing to get wet and stay with me under the umbrella where he could be dry, or if you choose to not use an umbrella, that's on you, just stay here with me then. So I thought that was really weird. It didn't rub me the right way. And then even when we went inside the store, he was asking me what I wanted to eat, and so he was just buying bento type stuff. And so I expressed that I really would like to cook something maybe tomorrow because it's already late, because by the time we went to the grocery store, it was about 9 or 10 o'clock because he got home at maybe 7 or 8ish, and then it took time for us to decide to go to the store, and then it took me time to get ready, and then it took time to drive there. So it was like after 9 o'clock. And so I was like, by the time I finish cooking, it's going to be midnight. So, let's cook something for tomorrow. And so he didn't mind what we did. And so we ended up buying some Korean chicken, which was so good. It was better than the restaurant stuff. And this was just, store-bought bakery stuff. So Anyway, I ended up buying myself some body lotion because I forgot to bring my body lotion with me from Osaka. I left it behind by accident, or either that or I had it somewhere buried inside my suitcase and I couldn't find it. I don't remember. But it was way more expensive there. They charged like an extra $3 because this was in the middle of nowhere. They can get away with price gouging or whatever. So that kind of made me upset. But yeah, kind of the part that rubbed me the wrong way was it was $7, which was expensive for that lotion. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you have money. This is your house. I'm your guest. That's the only thing you're buying for me. I would think he would offer to pay for it. Nope. He let me buy it on my own. Didn't say, oh, just add it to my stuff. He didn't try to play big pimpin' with me. He let me buy it myself. So I bought my own lotion and he was waiting outside, you know, not even inside the store, but he waited outside for me. And so one part of me wanted to kind of say, oh, it's Japanese thing, you know, because normally when you do go to a restaurant, that's how they do it. If someone else is paying for the food, you're supposed to step outside and not be right there at the register with them. It's bad manners. So I wanted to brush it off that way. But to me, it just rubbed me the wrong way. It almost, emphasis on almost, seemed like he didn't want to be seen with me. But at the same time, he was, you know, close to me inside the store and he was speaking to me inside the store. So it wasn't like, you know, he's ashamed of me or something like that. But I don't know, it just seemed weird to me for some reason. So the whole ride back, like, I got into like my deep thinking mode, and I honestly was like on the verge of crying. I was just thinking like, what am I doing with my life? You know, I want to get married, I want to have kids. Like, my mind's just going everywhere, and he could even catch on that something was off with me. And so he was like, you seem sad, is everything okay? So he was being nice, acting normal. And so when we got there, he like heated up the food and we started watching this some anime movie type thing, something about these cats. And so it was good. It actually caught my attention. And so the food that he had, though, he mixed that Korean chicken with some old bento crap he probably had sitting inside his fridge for God knows how long, because the salad stuff, you know, that was underneath it had started going bad. But I won't lie, the meat was good, whatever it was. It was some pork something. And so he was like asking me, oh, like, is it okay, whatever, and like trying to encourage me to eat more. But I was thinking to myself, like, it did kind of taste good, but I felt like it would have tasted better if it were fresher. And my brain was just so all over the place, and I was trying to watch my weight, and I just wasn't in the mood to eat so much. So I pretty much let him eat everything on his own, and I didn't want him to feel like, you know, I was abusing him or using him, you know, for his stuff. And I wanted to be mindful as his guest. So shortly after that, I took a shower, went to bed, and I figured that, you know, because it's like, you know, 10, 11ish o'clock at this time, he has to get up and go to work tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday, it's his last day of work. So I figured that he was going to meet me shortly afterwards. Wrong. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm still by myself. The fan is still on and the lights are on in the hallway. So I'm upstairs inside of his room. And this is where things get crazy. So, mind you, I didn't tell him, you know, everything going on inside my mind. I was keeping most of this to myself. But I went downstairs and I saw that he was there. And so I was like, you know, hey, like, why are you still here? Like, why didn't you go to bed? And so I saw that he was like laying on his stomach. It was very obvious that he was trying to fake like he was asleep or something. He was clearly talking to somebody, like texting them or whatever in the middle of the night. And so my gut like told me like, this dude is cheating on you, he's talking to other people, but you know, he's not really cheating on me. I'm not his girlfriend. But it just made it very clear to me that he's not serious like I was thinking that he was, which I never really believed that he was anyway. Because in case I didn't make this clear to you, at this point, by the time I went to go meet this guy for the second time, I was essentially using him to get myself a free ride back to Tokyo, because I figured that even if he wasn't going to drive me all the way there, I now saved over $100, so to speak, just between the commute from here to Shizuoka, not to mention the fact that I was able to move more stuff that I would have otherwise had to have paid for, because if I were moving that stuff myself from Osaka, Yamato would have charged me more money to ship it from Osaka versus shipping it from Shizuoka. And on top of that, I wouldn't be able to carry all of that stuff with me on a Shinkansen. I'm just one person. So anyway, I jokingly said to him, oh, like, you're cheating on me, like you're talking to your wife, whatever, like your girlfriend came to see you while I was asleep type thing. I jokingly said this to him, and he lost it. And it like freaked me out. And so he was like, don't say that. Like, you keep saying lie, whatever. And so, I'm speaking dumbed down English to him. He is bilingual, but I try to make things easy when I talk. So I was saying that he was lying about it instead of going into detail about what I meant by that. And so I was just playing with him at first with a little bit of truth to it. But then the part that like made me upset was he started mimicking my voice when he was saying it. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave this alone. I'm just going to go to bed. I don't care what you're doing, because I don't really like you like that anyway. But when I went upstairs, he actually followed me shortly afterwards. Like, he was calling, he was like, Ren. And so I went upstairs, and when I shut the door, I accidentally slammed it a little bit. But I was like, oh, crap. And so I turned out the lights, went back to sleep, put the blanket on. And literally seconds later, he came upstairs, started yelling at me, turned on the lights, and was saying for me, not to walk away from him. He was talking to me, and that he wanted to keep talking, and for me to stop saying that he's lying, that he's not lying, and that he's not talking to anybody else, blah, blah, blah. And so I just completely ignore him. I don't say anything, and I keep the cover over my face. And so I was holding on to it, and then he just pulls the cover off of me, and he keeps going back and forth saying, don't say that I'm lying to you, this, that, and the other. And so then it goes from that to eventually this guy, he's just keeps going back and forth. So he's scaring me at this point. So I'm like, okay, like, I'm worried he's gonna put his hands on me or do something crazy at this point. So I finally, set myself up out of bed and asked him to turn off the light, and he won't do it. So I tell him I'm trying to sleep. He doesn't care. He just keeps saying, don't call me a liar, don't say whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave then. I wanna go. And so then he's like, if you wanna go, then pay me money, then give me back my money, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, I tell you that I can't do it until Monday. They're closed. Like, give me back my money, pay me back my money, blah, blah, blah. And so I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I don't have it right now. You know that. I told you that we were going to go on Monday, which is your off day, in which we can actually drive and go to the bank, and then you can, you can get the money back then. I can transfer it to you, we can withdraw, whatever the case is. So this also spoke to me before I get ahead of myself, because I had withdrawn the money. I'm glad I did that my mom gave me, instead of keeping it on my card, because I was thinking to myself, what if I don't have the opportunity to take this off later on? Which I wasn't going to have the opportunity, so thank God I did that. And two, what else was I going to say? I was thinking, you should always have cash on hand, especially as, a single woman going, some dude that you don't really know that well in the middle of nowhere. You should want to have cash on hand. Anything can happen. And I thought to myself, I should pay him back the money in cash, because I do have his money, but he doesn't have, that money. So I can give him 100 out of the, 300 that I have. And plus I know I'm going to get more money because, I have people that schedule appointments for me, etc. I'll get my money via PayPal, or my mom could transfer, money into my, bank account, whatever. So I knew that, there was a possibility of, getting that replaced. But something in me said, no, just wait until you get his exact money back. Don't give him your money, because you weren't planning to have that. And I didn't do it. So I was like, I'm done. I want to leave here. And so he wasn't having it. I tried to grab my electronics, because I had, my two computers. I had my Chromebook, my MacBook, my Apple phone, and my Android phone, my Japanese phone. Excuse me, I almost belched. I needed to grab all of my stuff, put it together, and I was, folding my cords. I'm doing this while, sitting on his bed. He smacks all of my stuff out of my hands. Not once, but twice. And so I'm like, my brain can't decide how to react. I'm on the verge of, crying, but I'm also angry, and I'm trying to stay strong, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. One part of me wants to go off on him and hurt him, but I'm like, I have no way to leave here. There's no trains here. Nobody knows I'm here. It was 2 a.m. at this point, because I woke up at it was 1:40 a.m. And so we've been going back and forth for a while now. It's almost 2 a.m. And so I'm like, okay, just let me get out of this place. I'll try to grab my stuff again. And then, when I try to actually go for the door, do you know that this man shuts and locks the door on me? And so I tell him, I want to get out of here. And so he won't even let me, go to the door. He's literally pinning me down with his arms. And he's strong. He's muscular. He's taller than me. And so, for you guys, he's a short guy. But in Japan, he's tall for a man. And so I'm not no weak girl. I'm about 5'4". So he's 5'9", 5'10"-ish or whatever. I'll just say he's 5'9". So he's not significantly taller than me, but he's tall enough. And he's strong enough. He's muscular. And so I'm freaked out, because I'm I've never had somebody stop me from leaving their house. If anything, I've had people, try to keep me from leaving. Oh, please forgive me type of things. No. He was angrily trying to hold me hostage inside of his place and force me to talk to him. He kept saying, I'm not done talking. I want to finish talking to you, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm thinking, then just talk then. You can't force me to speak to you. So I was just ignoring him. And so I tell him that, I'm going to call the police, I'm going to call mom, whatever. And so I tried to do that, and he stops me from doing that too. So then it gets to the point where it's okay, I'm trying to just go downstairs and go outside the front door and, get help elsewhere. he wouldn't let me leave the house. He blocks the front door, locks it. We're literally pushing each other, like, back and forth. And I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Before we even got to that point, when we were on the stairs and I was getting ready to go down, I was freaking out because I'm like, I'm afraid to walk down the stairs with my electronics, because all it takes is for him to angrily push me and I can end up breaking something or killing myself. And secondly, I'm afraid to push him because if I hurt him, it's over for me. The police are going to see black girl, foreigner. I'm instantly in trouble, and I don't want to have to, end my, trip here in Japan, my stay here, because really I live here. I don't want that to affect, my future in Japan because I got into altercation with someone. So even though it would have been in self-defense, they're not going to view it that way. So I was being very cautious with how I was touching him. And so at one point when I was trying to push past him, I thought, push him back into the room so you don't have to worry about him accidentally losing foot and falling down the stairs. And so while I was trying to do that, I think he caught on to it. He fought back, and during this whole struggle thing, I think I twisted his arm or something and ended up scratching him across his chest. By accident, I have long nails. And so he acted like such a little bitch, tried to manipulate me. He started screaming at the top of his lungs, like hysterically. It seemed like one of those Resident Evil characters or something. It freaked me out, and I honestly stopped because I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I did not know what his reaction was going to be. And to help you understand this better, I jokingly had I made joke stuff on our ride there about how I was afraid of him, that he might try to kill me or something. He was like, oh, I don't want to go to prison or whatever. I wouldn't do something like that. I'm not crazy, basically. But at this moment, I did not trust that anymore. This dude had, swords and knives of all kinds inside of his house, as well as on the floor that we were on, right in the neighboring room where he had his, video game stuff at. So I was afraid of him taking out his anger and doing something like that, because he knocked my stuff out of my hand, and, he could have broke my computer. He didn't give a crap. So, he threw my charger, he flung it across the room. In the process of it, he smacked everything out of my hands without even hesitating, did it twice. And so, eventually, after he, was hurt or whatever, I finally was able to somehow push past him, or maybe he led the way. I don't remember what happened anymore. It's all blurring inside my mind as far as the stair incident goes. But somehow we ended up on the bottom and we're wrestling again. I'm trying to get him off of me. He pushed me down onto the couch, and so we're literally just fighting back and forth. And then I try to isolate myself inside the bathroom so I can call 911. And then he takes my phone from me. And so I'm thinking okay, this dude literally has me imprisoned inside of his house. He locked the front door. He won't let me go to the bathroom. I can either be locked inside of his room, or I can stay with being locked inside of his living room. Pick your poison, basically. I tried to scream for help. Nobody heard me, even though he does have next door neighbors. And so I was so scared. And then the fact that I couldn't call the police. I tried to call my mom, but honestly, I hung up the phone when I did have the chance to actually reach her, because I freaked out. I was like, do you want her to know what's going on with you right now? And so I was so scared, because at one sense I'm like, is this dude gonna kill me? And then the other sense I was like, this doesn't seem real. So I was like, it's almost in my mind. I'm imagining this. I'm dreaming. This cannot be happening to you, because this literally reminded me of one of the crazy, crime, true crime daily type show type stuff that I watch all the time on YouTube. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting uncomfortable sitting like this, but yeah. So eventually, while we're fighting back and forth, he finally decides, after we start grabbing stuff. I picked up some of his collectible stuff, and I pretended like I was going to break his glasses, but I couldn't do it because I was like, what if I break it and he gets mad and tries to, harm me, physically, or kill me or something? And nobody's going to come here looking for me. Nobody knows where I am. I'm in the middle of nowhere. So, this is dangerous to do. And I was thinking the whole time, I was snooping around this dude's place. He has tons of places where you can hide a body. That's all I got to say. He has all of these, secret floors and whatnot, and attic areas, and he lives alone. And there is a lot of pink stuff still laying around the house for some strange reason. So to give you some backstory on that, when I asked about it when he got home, he said that he used to live with his girlfriend, but things didn't work out because they were always arguing and fighting. After we got into our own fight, I was like, oh, now it all makes sense. So I'm literally piecing everything together in my mind while we're in the middle of fighting. But I also want to clarify this dude, he didn't punch him or anything. All he did was, he pushed me, he hit me, but he was literally just doing what he could to keep me down. I didn't walk out of there with a black eye and blood or something, but it was just scary knowing, oh my God, this dude is actually strong enough to keep me inside of his house. And it's so weird, because I've always thought, whenever I see stuff about people getting kidnapped, etc., it's how does somebody kidnap a full grown woman? And now I understand it. But yeah, so I'm like, dude, I'm trying to leave your house. I don't understand that. Why can't I go? And so then, eventually I end up sitting down on the couch, trying to calm him down. And so he's like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, please forgive me. He's literally begging me on his hands and knees, begging me to forgive him, basically. And so that honestly, like, weirded me out even more. And so I shared all of this stuff on Patreon. All the video and crap is there. But back on subject. So then eventually I thought inside my mind for a split second, forgive him, but I was thinking, like, I cannot go to sleep with you. I can't, because my mind is like so freaked out. What if you get mad at me in your sleep? What if I wake up and I'm like duct taped and in your attic or something and been drugged out? Or I don't know what to do. I want to leave here, but I have no way of leaving. I don't have a car. I don't have your keys. I don't have a license. I feel like I'm in that Resident Evil game or something right now. So, and then like I said, this guy was always really, really calm. Even though he did have F-boy tendencies, he never showed any signs of having anger issues, never showed any signs of, being capable of doing something like that. So, mind you, this is a paid dating site. This dude is making money. He has money, and it showed by his house, stuff that he had inside of it. So, between that and his car. So anyway, what was I gonna say? He eventually gets mad, and when he sees that I'm really trying to call the police and that I do actually call, he calls them himself, and he tells them what his plan is going to be. He, instead of letting me get out the house, because I tried to leave again one last time when I finally got back up again, he tells me that I need to stay inside the house so that he can call the police on me and so they can arrest me. His goal was to tell them that I'm staying in Japan illegally, that I don't have, a legal visa status, and that also that basically I was a hoe. Basically, he was trying to make it sound like I used this dude for free food and that I used him basically for money, that he paid me or something. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, I literally have messages that I exchanged with you explaining what you gave me that money for and that you willingly gave it to me. $120? You think that that's all I can give from somebody if my goal was to run around and make money giving up my poutine? So whatever. Then on top of it, I'm like, you're so stupid. That's not the way it works. The police cannot make me give back anything, even if I directly stole it from you. You have to directly take me to court for small claims. Secondly, on top of that's not enough, I am here legally, you idiot. I said that my visa had expired. I need to show them my new one. I have a stamp on the back of it saying that it's in the middle of being processed. And as soon as I show it to my bank and show that I'm still physically here by visiting them, they will, allow me to access the money again. I spoke to them over the phone, got confirmation of these things. But he actually went and told the police all of that over the phone and everything. So when I tried to call, for some strange reason, the police officer that I was speaking to, whoever it was, they couldn't hear me. They kept saying, moshi mosh, whatever, and they kept calling back. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm in the bathroom. I got a second to call finally. And so he was like yelling in the background, whatever, trying to say stuff so that they could hear. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, if I were really in the process of being killed, y'all weren't even helping me. I wouldn't even say that they were sent to help, because to be honest, I don't think anybody was going to come from my call. I think they came after he called is what helped them come. If somebody was really trying to kill me, if you really, did want to kill me, I would have been gone. Nobody would have come looking for me. Nobody would have known where I was. And on top of that, it would have all been their fault. So don't get me wrong, I know how the police works. The dispatch person's talking to you. I know that they're not the ones actually coming to get you. But it seemed like this dude wasn't even trying to get together information to figure out how to help me. And so mind you, it was nearly 3 a.m. at this point. So when they did come, it was very obvious they were trying their best not to laugh. I had to quickly throw on some clothes because I was wearing a nightgown. I wasn't wearing a bra or anything, but I knew that the police would be coming. So I quickly put on a hoodie and I put on some jeans, which were a very uncomfortable outfit, but I did what I had to do. My hair was all messy all over my head because I had been asleep and I wasn't wearing makeup or anything. I had just taken a shower, the night before, because I'm thinking we're going to get ready to do some things. We're getting ready to go to bed, right? But he never, met me in bed. He stayed downstairs. So I really just got up to go to the bathroom. I didn't mention that part. So anyway, when they came inside, they questioned me and questioned him separately. So they talked to him outside and they talked to me inside. And so when they were talking to me after speaking to him, they asked me if we had been fighting. And I was thinking, like, we? I was defending myself. I'm trying to get out of here. And so I explained to them that he had been imprisoning me inside his house. He wouldn't let me leave, blah, blah, blah. They didn't pay no mind to any of the stuff that I said. The whole time we were talking, it was just, okay, well, he wants you to go. You want to go. How can we get you out of here? You don't have money, blah, blah, blah. And so when I told them that I do have money, but that I don't want to give it to him, they asked if they could see it. And so I was like, I'll show it to you, but I'm not giving that money to him. Absolutely not. He can sue me if he wants to. But he gave me that money. I need the money that he gave me to get out of Shizuoka. So they were like holding back laughs. It was very obvious that they were thinking like, what have we gotten ourselves into this craziest call? Foreigner, she can't, speak Japanese at a native level. Because when we were talking at parts, it was hard for them to understand some of the things I was trying to say to them, because I was thinking to myself like, okay, like, you know what, forget it. I got to the point where I was like, they can't fully understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not being able to portray myself properly by trying to, be Japanese. So speaking Japanese, like, no, fuck it. We're going back to using English. So I started talking to them in English, and I started using Google Translate on my phone, etc., because I wanted them to know what was going on. Because when I was speaking in Japanese, it was like they weren't understanding. Like, y'all not get what I'm saying? This dude basically like kidnapped me. He could have killed me, anything. Y'all not even worried about it. From their perspective, it's like, oh, okay, like, were you all both fighting? And so trying to make it seem like it was a fair and even thing or something. I'm like, I willingly came here, yes, but I did not willingly decide I wanted to be a slave or prisoner to this dude. He's crazy. He lost his crap on me, and now he's trying to blackmail me, which didn't work. So, of course, as always, after he said that, the police became super concerned about what I'm doing here, my visa status, everything. I had to show them all my papers, all my documents, information for my job, everything else, my visa sponsor, all type of stuff. And so after they cleared all of that, then it became, okay, how can we get you out of here? Because you don't have a car, you don't have a license, he's the one that drove you here. Sorry, come on, they're picking up glass today outside, the garbage people. And on top of that, your address. I can't make this stuff up, you guys. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep talking. They were like, your address is in Tokyo. And so I was explaining to them that, the goal was for him to drive me to Tokyo, and or that I was going to ship my stuff from his place to Tokyo. And that was what I was talking about earlier. I forgot to mention, he wouldn't tell me the address for his place, his exact address, for some reason. I was initially trying to use it so I could order food instead of going to the convenience store earlier that day, but I saw that Uber Eats wasn't even available in the city because it's so countryside, so remote. So I stopped asking for it, and then I just needed the address so that I could figure out how to get back to his house after going to the convenience store. So instead I just, saved, a pin or whatever inside my Google Maps so I could reroute myself back here. And so I figured it out on my own by doing Google search to figure out where I was at. So, yeah, I thought it was weird that he was hesitant to share that type of information with me. And then when he asked, later, like, why do you need that? And I explained it. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry, whatever. But I thought it was really weird. It's like, you think we'll have a party at your house or meet some other guy to sleep with him here or something, or have him pick me up from your place? So, yeah, it seemed really weird that he was withholding some stuff, and that he didn't tell me things like about that he was living with his girlfriend at some point, which was just a year ago. So he was really trusting towards me. Like I said, he gave me a house key, and he was okay with me staying there probably for longer than a week. He wouldn't have mind, but I was only planning to stay for a week because I don't want to be there. I wanted to go to Tokyo. I had the option to work at a job in Shizuoka that I turned down because I initially was looking at that job because I was thinking about, dating him seriously. But he gave me red flags, and I knew in my heart that I really wanted to be in Tokyo. So I figured if I'm going to go through all this stuff and spend all this money, might as well move to where I really want to be. So, anyway, moving on. Yeah, so the police did, eventually, after talking to them for a good 30-40 minutes, they gave me some time because I asked for it to fix my hair. They helped me take all of my stuff out, pack up my stuff and put it inside their cars, and they let me stay at the police station overnight, which overnight was just a couple of hours. And during that time, they actually walked with me from the police station to the convenience store to ship my stuff, so they helped me with that too. And this really rubbed me the wrong way. On our way out, leaving the convenience store, they had the audacity to take shots at the U.S. police during this whole situation. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. They were telling me, like, oh, like, yeah, Japanese police are so nice, right? Yeah, like, we're not racist. And I'm like, American police. They literally said that to me. We're so kind. And I'm like, how insensitive, ignorant, and insulting is it to pat yourself on the back? Don't get me wrong, yes, you're right. The U.S. police would not have done all of that. At best, they would have got me out of the house, and I'd be on my own to figure out how I'm going, get home and do whatever else. Totally understand. But y'all didn't give me money or pay for a ticket back home. All y'all did was drive me to the police station. And you escorted me to the convenience store, which that was kind of a waste too. But it saved me a trip because I had somebody else to carry a heavy bag for me. But that wasn't really doing a huge deal because I had to fill out all the paperwork by myself. I paid for it and everything else. And the staff at the convenience store wasn't the friendliest either because I was making some mistakes. But I'm thinking, like, I'm nervous, I'm traumatized, and you don't know what's really going on. It looks really embarrassing that the police are escorting me to do all of this stuff. Japanese is not my first language. I'm trying my best to communicate with you. So, yeah, I made some mistakes when I was filling out the form, and I didn't understand some of his questions. I made mistakes with that too. But I was really proud of myself, because I was thinking, like, I never did this on my own entirely, in Japanese, because there's very little English written down on the forms there. And then some of the questions that the cashier was even asking me were different from what I had previously been asked from other cashiers. For those of you that don't live in Japan and or that do live here but have never used Yamato to ship stuff, you can ship your stuff from select convenience stores, specifically 7-Elevens and some Family Marts, using their service. So I had never done it at the convenience store before. My ex did it, and I was there with him when he did it before. But normally whenever I've had stuff shipped, I've always, no, did I have something shipped? Yeah, I did. I had him ship a box for me there. But see, he was the one who did it. I didn't do it myself. So it was my first time using it from the convenience store, and it had been a while since I used their service. So anyway, they shipped my stuff for me, so I was only left with a couple of bags that were easy to, carry myself. And so I stayed there for a couple of hours, and I spoke to my mom, telling her everything that happened, and I was just so freaked out. And mind you, all this stuff happened over the course of about, 2.5, 3 hours. It was a long night. And then after that, I thought, if they really want to be nice and get the brownie points like how they want it would have been nice if they drove me to the, train station, take the Shinkansen. Instead, they made me walk the, 20 plus minutes from the police station to the train station. And then to make matters even worse, do you know that instead of giving me a ride, they followed me to the train station? They came there about maybe 5 minutes after I arrived. They sent a squad car after me to check to see if I made it there okay. And I'm thinking, like, you could have just given me a ride here in the first place. So, long story short, there was no more contact with them after that, but the whole situation was super, super embarrassing. The fact that they didn't try to help me at all, they didn't ask if I was okay, they didn't apologize, nothing. It just literally seemed like, oh, typical boyfriend-girlfriend fight. I explained several times, both in Japanese and in English, and using Google Translate, everything that happened, and it seemed like in their mind, they literally just felt like I owed him that money, that I should be paying him back, and that, this is just a normal fight. And I'm like, guys, I'm not talking about begging me not to go type thing. He was holding me hostage in his house. He took my phone and he locked me in here and tried to keep me from calling the police. I literally had to fight back. And then he went through a Jekyll Hyde moment where he realized, oh my God, I'm crazy. And he tried to calm himself down and beg me to forgive him. And this is the part I forgot to mention. I took videos and pictures to protect myself because I knew that they were going to believe his word over mine. And when I showed it to them, they never left a little bit speechless, had nothing to say. But even after seeing it, they didn't show any sympathy towards me. There was no, are you okay? Do you want to press charges? Do you want whatever? Nope. It was just, okay, let's figure out how to get you out of here. And so, like I said, I couldn't understand everything they were saying to each other, but it was very obvious they felt like I owed them that money, and they were kind of laughing about the situation, etc. But it really, really embarrassed me, and it really, really hurt me, because I'm thinking to myself, like, I could have died here. And then I even looked back on it, I was like, my whole reaction to this whole situation was stupid too. If you ever find yourself in a situation like me, do not do what I did. Do not fight back. Do not do anything to make the person angrier. Cooperate. Because doing what I did could have got you killed. I don't know how I came out of that situation alive. I'm really not doing the story justice, because there's a lot more to it than what I'm saying right now. But you never know what somebody's capable of doing or what their personality truly is. Do not provoke or escalate things by being quiet. Always try to seem cooperative. Even if you want to leave, wait until the moment is right. Do not do what I did, because he very much indeed could have ended my life or done something really crazy to me, but clearly he wasn't at that level of crazy. He had, a point where he wanted to draw the line, but it's really scary just thinking that he was able to get away with that. So I know in my heart, if I really want to pursue things further, I can contact the police and file a formal police report or whatever. But to me, it's not even worth it. I feel like they're going to discredit it, because in their mind, I willingly slept with him. I willingly went to his place, and I didn't give him back that money. But it's like that money would have been spent anyway, because you gave me that money to get to your place. And to be honest, I was planning to ask him to keep it anyway, because more than likely he was going to ask me to take the Shinkansen and get back home, and wasn't going to drive me all the way to Tokyo for no reason. Because the reason why he came to drive me and bring me there was the incentive of being able to spend time with me, sleep with me, etc. Whereas taking me to Tokyo, you're just dropping me off at home. So, yeah, I'm thinking, like, after all the crap you put me through, you owe me that. So I told him, I was like, you're an idiot. You just sealed your fate by calling the police on me, you ensured the fact that you're not going to get that money back. And so he didn't believe me. He thought he knew the police better than I did. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm black and I'm American. I have to know the police wherever I go. I know how the law works here. They can't do anything about it. They cannot make me give you back that money. So, yeah, it's just scary thinking that there's so little help that you have here. And even in a situation like that, here I am, I'm being held hostage inside of this house. And instead of being like a normal person and being like, okay, fight for your life, get out of the situation, I knew that this was not the US. If I put my hands on him, I'm risking losing my visa status. And it's going to be my word against his. It's almost like being here in Japan, like in the 1930s or 20s in the US, as a black man going up against a white woman. You are better off getting the crap beat out of you, getting your arms and legs broken, than putting a scratch on them. Because the moment that you touch them, you're guilty. And he tried to use that against me too. He tried to pretend like I was fighting him. And the police could see, because at first he was topless, asked him to put a shirt on, but he had, scratch marks or whatever on his chest. And I'm thinking, like, any trained police officer with half of a brain can see that those are defense marks. What girl gets into a fight with a man and starts scratching on you? Those are defense marks. I'm fighting with you, pushing you back. But of course, I wasn't all marked up. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, because he was busy pinning me down and pushing me to the ground. Not to mention, my skin is not white. He was a very pale-skinned person. I'm black. My skin does not get red easily from having pressure applied to it. And he didn't have long nails. I just can't even breathe. I can't talk or think right now, but it's crazy to think that all of this stuff happened. I'm not even gonna lie, my brain is so messed up from things that happened to me in the past. I honestly felt guilty after this whole thing happened. Not guilty in the sense that I feel bad for seeing him, but I felt guilty for letting it escalate that far. I felt like I should have just spoken to him. I shouldn't have made him mad by saying that he was lying to me, which he was. I felt like I was the one in the wrong. I literally, like, in my mind, I was so messed up that I was trying to justify his treatment towards me, which nobody deserves that. That's how messed up things were for me. Then on top of that, I felt bad because his birthday was the next week. I thought about buying him a gift. And it's really crazy because, like, this person, was trying to hurt me. They did hurt me. They could have broke my stuff. They could have potentially killed me. They lied on me. And here I am trying to forgive you and still act like I'm your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. And then I feel disgusted just thinking that my brain had even went down that route and thought that way after all of the stuff that I had been through. But yeah, in a nutshell, like, it's just really scary that you can't ever see yourself as the victim. You always have to, view yourself as the person trying to prove your innocence, so to speak. Because had I fought him back, had I pushed him down those stairs, had I punched him or anything else, oh, he would have had a great story to tell. Had I not taken that video of him begging on his knees for me to forgive him, had I not taken those pictures showing what he was doing and what happened, him blocking the stairs, try to keep me inside of the room, it wouldn't have been believable. There's no proof, especially since I willingly went to his house. And that's the scary part too, to Japan. It's not just Japan, but some people in the US feel this way too. This is why date R exists. He didn't do that to me, my dad. But people have inside their mind that you lose all rights to the ability to consent the moment that you step into somebody's room, somebody's place. Do not get me wrong. It's misleading and stupid for you to go to someone's place knowing that you have no intention of doing that with them. But that wasn't the case. I did plan to do those things, and we did. However, I cannot predict that when we walking into your place that you are going to hold me hostage as a slave, as a prisoner. Okay, likewise, you might think that you want to do these things with that person. But it's a whole other story if that person forces you into doing things that you don't want to do, or physically harms you in the process of it. You didn't sign up for that. And so I feel like it would be like talking to a brick wall here. They won't understand it. And I have another video that I'll post, later on, another story time on a similar incident. But it's just really scary just thinking that you can literally go on a date with somebody that you know, and they could turn on you like that. And it's even crazier because this wasn't just anybody, you guys. I almost got pregnant by this person. And then to make it worse, just gotta keep it real, it could happen again the second time around. because I also slept with him then too. So it's just really, scary that, nothing's ever 100% foolproof. You never truly know someone no matter how long you've been talking to them. And I want to also clarify again, because I know people are going to say, oh, this is why I don't do online dating, whatever. The same people that you date online, the same people that you can date in person, etc. Doesn't matter how long you've talked to them, known them, where you met them. Crazy people exist everywhere. Out of all the people I've dated, this is the one crazy person that I encountered. So just always be careful, keep your guard up, but also know when to, play your part, and don't be dumb like me, because doing what I did could have, cost me my life, and none of you would have known about it for a very long time. So that really scares me. And so just the fact that, the carelessness of the police, the fact that, they took the time to take shots at my country's police instead of trying to help me and apologizing to me about, what he did or what happened, whatever. And in their mind, I think they felt like, I was just some gold digging whore that scammed him, basically, because this guy had a nice car, he had a motorcycle, had a nice house, etc. And I'm thinking to myself, like, he didn't even spend any money on me. he bought me a cheap grocery store meal that we shared together. It wasn't even my own or something. So I'm done. I just really, I give up. I don't know what to do in situations like that. So yeah, and so this is somebody that I was talking about having kids with, talking about getting married to. He had a good career. He was paying for his membership. There's always exceptions to the rule. People can always slip through the cracks. You just have to really be careful. And even when dealing with the police, especially in a foreign country, you cannot take your foreign mindset with you over here. You have to be careful. Because at the end of the day, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever you are, Chinese, Korean, you are not Japanese. So when and if something does go wrong, you will be blamed for it. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like how I am, pull out your phone, take pictures, take videos. Because otherwise, you cannot prove what happened. It's your word against theirs. If I didn't show them that video of him begging on his knees for forgiveness, in their mind, it'd be like, well, let's put two and two together. You're claiming that this dude hit you, pushed you, whatever, but I don't see any marks on you. Him, on the other hand, I see scratches on his chest. I think he's telling the truth. That's exactly how they would have taken it. If I didn't take those screenshots and save those conversations, it would have been my word against his about why he gave me that money. Because to them, it just seems like, she used him for a free ride. She used him for money. She used him for whatever. They did not mind the fact this dude was trying to keep me inside, like, dog the bounty hunter style or something. Like I had a warrant on my head and he was doing some good service for the country or whatnot. Even if I did steal that money from him, even if I was using him, you cannot hold me hostage inside of your house. It doesn't work that way. So whatever. This is why I have trust issues with the police, because you can't trust them. Whenever you do really need them, they don't come through for you. And the little bit that they do for you, they act like you owe them the world or something. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate them, taking me, walking with me to the convenience store and taking me to the police station, whatever, to let me stay somewhere for a couple of hours. But that didn't really do much of anything for me, in all honesty. I mean, the police ride was maybe the best part of it because that got me close to the train station. But that's not pat yourself on the back worthy or whatever. You're doing your job. So, I don't know what to say or think about it. Just really be careful. And like I said, it took a lot for me to share this. This is a really embarrassing, a really vulnerable story, and I'm sorry making like a 2-hour video out of this, but I felt like it needed to be said and shared. Just really be careful who you talk to. Be careful what you tell them, because I regretted sharing all that information with him about my visa situation or whatnot. And be careful what you do in situations like this, not just with your words and how you react and your actions, but be careful what what can I say? Well, that is what I mean. Be careful with everything. Be careful with not just what you say, but what you do as well. If somebody is showing that, they're losing their temper and you're alone with them, especially, opposite sex or with a man, somebody stronger than you, you need to humble yourself, calm down, and do whatever it takes to make that dude relax. Because it could have ended very differently for me. Even if I was still alive, he could have beat me upside my head or something. Who knows what could have happened. So, yeah, that's it. So, I'm done. I hope that my story helps some of you. I hope that, anybody that feels like you're the only person that's ever dealt with, you know, domestic violence, somebody being abusive towards you, or had a, you know, date gone crazy, whatever, you're definitely not alone. I can join you in that category now too. So don't ever think that because you've been talking to somebody for a while that they're not capable of doing something, or because you've met someone before that this is the real them. Sometimes it takes, you know, seeing people when they're angry, when they're sad, or when you send them over the edge for them to show you their true colors, what they're capable of really doing, really being, whatever. So yeah. And just know that, especially being here in Japan, the ball is not in your court. Things are not in your favor. They are going to side with the Japanese person over you 9 times out of 10. So be very careful with what you say and or do, because while what you're doing might make sense in your head and might be, you know, out of defense, it can be seen completely different by a police officer here and completely different by a judge. So that's it. You know, just thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And yeah, please be respectful towards me. This was a lot to go through. It honestly traumatized me. I felt really bad afterwards, and I still feel a little bit haunted by the whole situation. I'm honestly kind of scared because I think to myself, like, another girl can date this guy. Like, his profile is still there. I had already blocked him before, like, we'd even gone on this date, because as soon as I found out that I thought that he was an F-boy, I got, you know, bad feelings towards him. I'd already blocked him, so I have no access to his information. He now blocked me online, so it's just really scary knowing that somebody else can end up in my situation, and unfortunately there's potential for it to end very differently than it did for me. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you have a similar story you'd like to share, please feel free to leave it down below in the comments. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So don't be fooled and think that, you know, only bad people exist in the US or in Europe, etc. There are bad and crazy people here in Japan too. There are most certainly, you know, abusive people here, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to guys where it's like they think that the idea of having an abusive partner, spouse, or whatever only exists in foreign countries, that their own men are not capable of doing such a thing. Do not fall for that crap. Japanese people most certainly can be abusive and manipulative and liars and everything else, just like any other race of men. So yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll watch another video later. Again, please keep me in your prayers. I'm going through a lot right now. It was really hard for me because I did really like this guy, despite his F-boy tendencies. He was cute to me. He did a lot for me. I was appreciative of the ride that he gave me. I enjoyed talking to him. He was fun to be with, but he scared me. And I felt like I saw my life flash before my eyes when he showed me he was capable of getting that angry, and the fact that I've never had anybody keep me inside their place and stop me from leaving. So that was really scary. And then just the fact that both when I tried to call for help, I literally screamed and yelled for help outside of his front door, you know, during the 2 seconds I was able to get the door open. The fact that he took my phone, the fact that even when I did contact the police, they were so slow to, you know, to get me help. And then even when the help came, they were more focused on trying to make the field even and be like, well, it looks like both of you guys just got into a little bit of a fight, huh? So it was just like, what? So just really be careful out there, you guys. And that's it. Sorry for this really long video, but I wanted to get everything out that I had to say. So thank you for listening and thank you for watching, and I hope you'll watch another video. Bye.